Let's hit the high road. Let's hit the high road. It's the first touch, strong connection. It lays deep in your soul. Feel the kindness strongly coming, as you can achieve your goal.
Hi, it's Nancy Youre, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And I have one of my favorite people here today. Maureen J. Saint Germain is here. And welcome back to the High Road, Maureen.
Thank you. And I feel the same way. One of my favorite people is Nancy Youre.
Oh, God bless you. You know, Maureen did a show with me a long time ago. I was thinking about it today, where we did a show about angels and stuff. And you write about the angels. I was so pleased to see it in your new book. You guys, she has a new book. It's called Living Your Best 5D Life. And it's timeless tools to achieve and maintain your new reality. And I was telling Maureen before the show, this has got some cool information. Are you yawning on my show?
Mhm.
She's like, I know Maureen teaches. Maureen, you do. Can you say that? Do you want to say that you teach? She teaches
Oh,
class.
yes. My MO is a teacher and a translator of information that's there that we might have already received, but nobody gets it. Nobody gets it. And I'm going to tell you why there's no more karma. I've got a great explanation, but not now, when you're ready, when we're ready.
Okay, all right. Well, let me give you guys a little bit about a little info what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk, Maureen says, think in 5D in the book. We're going to learn about that. Accelerate your vibrational rate, transform your beliefs. She wants us to clean up our 12 DNA strands, and she wants us to recognize when we are actively in 5D and to shift into that vibration zone and stay there. I've written down so many different questions for you today. This is my favorite book of yours so far, and I mean that.
Hi.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
it's
Thank you.
yeah, this is information that's really needed right now for humanity. I'm so glad you wrote this. This is a big deal, you guys. So we're going to share this show with your friends today. This is a really important one. Before we get into it with Maureen and I read her bio, I have to say my new book, A Guide to Angel Communication and Spiritual Law, is in the warehouses at the publisher. And so you guys can order it now. It's on Amazon. It's at Barnes and Noble. I'm really excited about this book. I've been writing articles. I'm already booked on podcasts to be on other people's podcasts. So I'm pretty excited about that, to talk about the book, to talk about the angels. And it's really about connecting to source, connecting to the earth energies, and Maureen, it's connecting to your own guardian angel. And then I talk about the spiritual laws, which we've lost a lot of those. So I kind of bring those back. And then I do channel Archangel Gabriel at the end. And these are messages for humanity. So I hope you guys will check it out. I have a new website doing psychic readings, psychicforhumanity.com. So check it out. I'm doing live readings on Thursdays, Eastern Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. I did live readings yesterday. It's a lot of fun. So I'm on YouTube and I'm going to do some on TikTok too. So you can find me there. But let's talk about Maureen. Maureen J. St. Germain is the founder of the St. Germain Mystery School, the Ascension Institute Mystery School, and the Akashic Records International. Now, she's an internationally recognized teacher and intuitive, like we were just talking about. And she's also the creator of more than 30 guided meditation CDs, and they're now available on her new app. So I didn't know you had an app. That's really cool. She's the author of 8 books, you guys, including Waking Up in 5D, and she lives near Sedona, Arizona. There you go. I love it. Well, Maureen, I thought about what to ask you. These are timeless tools, but for those who don't know you, can you give like a brief overview and how you came to know about the 5D self?
I think I was born awake. People ask me a lot of times, when did my journey start? And I think I was born awake. I knew things when I was I don't know, maybe 4 or 5. I was aware I was being watched. My mother was psychic, but my family was Catholic. And so we kind of mixed those two, which is in Catholic, there was a time in Catholicism where someone giving you a reading wasn't considered a bad thing. And my mother never went for readings, but she had some pretty powerful awarenesses about our family and situations. So when I started talking about these things, it wasn't a big deal. In fact, she was the one who introduced me to Edgar Cayce when I was a teenager.
Really?
And so then I went through various opportunities to learn and study and grow. And I studied with a lot of different teachers over the years. I had a family. I worked in corporate. And I knew I wanted to write. I knew that writing books was my thing. But I was afraid to do it. So I knew that I was a good speaker. So I started speaking with the idea that if I presented for a group, that the books would write themselves. And that's essentially what I did. I kept good journals. And so my journey has been up and down, all over the map. I have been almost bankrupt twice. And I say that not as bragging rights, but for those of you who are choosing to redo your life, don't be afraid. If you feel like you absolutely must file bankruptcy, do that. If you feel like you want to work through it, do that. And what I do know, it was the angels that really helped me get through some of the tougher times. So, my when I was in high school, I wanted to become a nun. And but I also like being with boys. So that kind of those two
That blew that one, eh? I thought about that
that
too.
didn't
Isn't
really,
that funny? That's funny you would
yeah,
say that because I thought about
yeah,
that too, but I like boys too much.
yeah. So today I am happily living in the Sedona area, and I have started a school here, and we teach metaphysical subjects, but we teach people how to be more plugged in, more connected to source. That's what we're all about. And the path to 5D started with the Merkaba. Before the Merkaba, there was other spiritual teachings. But then once I learned the Merkaba, then I used the Merkaba to ride the rainbow to get the next level of information. So because of the Merkaba, I was able to access more information. I'm able to access the higher self connection. And then other stuff started coming and happening. So just show up. Just show up and you'll get what you want.
I love it. I love it. And thanks for talking about that because as far as finances go, because I've been up and down too. But I will say that when you do this work and you're working on yourself and you are a light worker and you're working with the divine, you can say spirit, you can say God, you are taken care of. Always. You're always taken care of. And that's like having faith. You talk about the chakras in your book. There's so much in here, but I wrote down, you guys, you know me, I wrote down all these notes because I just love Maureen and I love her information. But you talked about activating the chakras. You say the chakras were never intended. I didn't know this. You said the chakras were never intended to be locked in the body, but to be outward in the system to collect cosmic information. Can you expand upon that? I didn't get that. I didn't know this.
I didn't know it either till my guides told me.
Okay.
So I probably had a half a dozen books on the chakras, but I could never open them. And I was never, like in a place where my guidance or my curiosity would make me look into them. And one day I had an aha, and I saw the chakras floating outside the body like satellites around a center,
Okay.
or like we're the sun and the chakras are our planets.
Okay. That makes sense.
So that's one piece. And the other piece was I was shown that this whole thing about the feminine and the masculine, I'll simplify it by saying masculine is represented by straight lines and feminine is represented by curved lines.
Okay.
So all the ways to open your chakras, either from the top down or from the bottom up. And again, I wasn't really interested in that. And then I was shown that you could start at the heart. and you could start at the heart and circle up and down. I was actually shown a picture, and I think the picture, Gitchel's picture, is in here. I'm not
Wow.
sure.
Okay.
But Gitchell was a mystic from, I think, the 16th century. And he drew a human form, and he started here, and he had a running dog going up, but he had a spiral going down
Okay.
around the chakras. And because I've been studying spirals and the sacred geometry for so long, when I saw this picture, I was instantly informed on how this would work. So you start at the heart and you spiral down to the solar plexus. Now, what happens is if you start at the heart and you amplify your unconditional love and you're really focusing on opening that heart chakra and
Okay.
bringing in more unconditional love, then when you move to the solar plexus is fear and worry and these emotions that we try to work with. But if you imbue it with love, guess what happens? There's courage. There's ability to see an outcome. Like you said, it'll turn out okay. There's this sense of things working out. So the fear doesn't overtake you. And then with the courage and the love in your
In your solar
solar
plexus.
plexus, then
Yeah.
you scroll up to the throat chakra. Now, what's the throat chakra? It's all about. It's your power center. It's where you speak your truth. Now, if you've got the modified power of the solar plexus that'll hold space for you in your throat, then you can speak your truth lovingly. And you have the heart connection to help you stay centered and supportive of the situation or yourself or the other person. And then you spiral down to the spleen. And the ancients never used the gonads as a chakra center to activate because they knew it was trouble. They knew it was dangerous to do that. And if you look at today's society, you can see how that might be because of all the things that we know that are going on. So
Right.
we activate the spleen. Now the spleen is the only chakra that is both a collector, like a radio receiver,
Mhm.
and a projector, like a radio speaker.
Okay.
Okay. So it's going in both directions. It's receiving unconditional love from the sun, from the great central sun to the sun to the spleen. And that feeds the whole body. So when you move those power centers then into the spleen, you've now added a layer, I'll call it, of God energy and of powerful authenticity and sovereignty. And then you spiral up to the third eye.
Okay.
And so you do the same thing. Each chakra then blends the higher level chakra with one that may have been formerly considered lower. And this is very interesting. Back in 1995, I was told that the heart was the lowest chakra, would be the lowest chakra. And
What?
I said to myself, how
No.
could this be? And
Yeah.
at the time, I concluded that it must mean that the lower chakras would atrophy, but that's not what's happening. And so then this big piece of information that I've been carrying around, trying to figure out what did they mean, what does that mean? I finally understood that it's to make the spiral. And Gitchel's drawing was never explained. And he was so secretive that he didn't put much on paper, and he was chased out of his original home country and moved twice. And he was a lawyer, and he was still persecuted. So I'm seeing this picture, and I know exactly what he's doing. I know exactly what he means. So we're spiraling down to go up, spiraling down to go up. And then once we get everything lined up, like the pranic tube, lined up around the pranic tube going around this way, then we take the whole thing and tilt it back. So the crown chakra goes behind you and your earth star chakra goes in front of you. And then you let them expand.
Is this a meditation that you have in the book that we can do? because I want to do
Yes,
this. It does make
yes.
sense. I understand. Where do we where like what part? I'm going to ask. Where do
Well,
I
you can find it on the app. You can find it on
Okay.
the phone.
Okay, so the app
And
is, let's talk about the app. What's the name of the app? How do I find it? How does the
it's called
audience
Illuminate. It's called
called
Illuminate.
Illuminate? Okay.
Mhm.
I love it.
And it has a
That's cool.
it has a purple box
Okay.
and a um a golden arrow. It's pretty easy to see it.
Okay.
Once you see it once, you know what it is.
Okay. And
And
send me a link after the show and I'll put it in the comments for the audience so they can find it. Because I
okay,
want
very
to
good.
find it too. Because this is really interesting. Now I have a question and I don't want to hate to sound
I'm gonna
unnerving.
show you a quick picture so that if people go looking right now, they'll see it.
I'll see it.
If that's okay. You
No,
can
no,
share.
do it, do it, do it, do it.
You have to give me permission to share.
Oh, hold on. La, la. Yes. Uh, you should be able to now. Did it let you?
Okay, here we go. That's the Illuminate app.
Oh, wow. I like
So
it.
thank you. So once you see it, once you know what you're looking for. And
Okay.
if you can't find it under the word illuminate, just make a space and then type in Maureen and it comes right up.
Okay, cool.
We
Thank you.
discovered that kind of like
So,
by surprise.
okay, so we do the meditation and that's how we do the activation.
Yes. And then the other thing is because this is so new for people, I recommend that they bring the active, I'll call it solar system of your chakras. I recommend that they bring them back to align with your chronic tube until you are comfortable with it. I don't go out in public with it yet. So what that means is you do the meditation, you're in meditation, you have these experiences. Maybe you're with family or friends or at home. But if you were going out to the mall, you might want to tuck them back in because you're still learning how to navigate this big system. And why were they tucked back in the body is because there were energies that were adversely impacting them because they were satellites.
Exposed. They're
Exposed,
exposed.
that's the right word, exposed.
Yeah. Well, and I was talking to you about that earlier. And so it's to protect our energy field.
Mhm.
So when do you take them out? When you're in meditation and then bring them back in when you go out into public? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But you
I
can still keep them spiraling in the new way. And
okay.
here's the other thing. I introduced this in Boston the first time a couple of years ago, and I had so many people come up to me, but the most poignant one was a man, and he said to me, and by the way, I when I teach it, I describe it as a feminine way to activate your chakras
Okay.
because all the other ways are masculine.
Okay.
Follow a straight line. So this is a feminine way.
Oh, got it. Sure. Right. Okay.
And the man came up to me and he said, I always saw this. And I could never understand why people were activating their chakras the other way. And I'm so grateful for you to share. And then other people just, ringing with energy. Oh my God, this is so amazing. So yeah, it's very, very powerful and very cool.
That's really cool. I love it. Okay. So there's so many things that I want to talk about. You talk about being in 5D frequency and that it is a choice to be living in the present moment. And I will say, I want you to expand upon it. I do talk about this with the audience. It took me a while. I still have to every once in a while bring myself back, bring myself back. It's a practice to bring
Mhm,
yourself back. Talk about
mhm.
this, being in 5D and going back and forth and that kind of thing. And I think I'm mostly in it now, but I think I just want to say this and ask you, this is like a twofold question. I've been tapping. And so I'm wondering if my tapping hasn't caught up with my 5D yet.
Okay, so what was the word tapping?
Yeah, tapping. You know how that you tap, you know?
Uh-huh.
EFT.
Yeah,
EFT.
right,
Okay.
right,
So we're in the 5D, but this seems like to release, we got to work on ourselves to stay in the 5D and we got to release things, right? So
right, right, right.
tapping seems to be one of the ways to release some of the stuff.
Oh, I agree. I
But what
agree.
I'm,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
my-
often
I guess,
recommend that people do emotional freedom.
okay,
But let's talk a little bit about the difference between 3D and 5D to get people on board.
okay.
3D is where there's polarity, and there's the choice in 3D is to choose the God choice or the not God choice. The not God choice is when we open our mouth and we say something that turns out to be hurtful. Maybe we didn't think it was hurtful, but it was. The not God choice is when we set ourselves up for failure. You know, we know we need to take a coat with us, but we don't, and then we get uncomfortable. You know, little mistakes and big ones are all what I call not God choices.
Yeah.
So in 5D, we're stepping out of that game. What that means is the not God choice doesn't exist for you. It doesn't occur to you. So it doesn't mean that you won't have choice in 5D. What it means is all the choices that would be harmful for you and whoever you're interacting with are not available. You don't even they don't
You
occur
don't
to
even
you.
think about it. Yeah.
Right. And an easy way to kind of think about what does that really mean is to imagine that the regular grocery store only has health food. There's nothing there that's got junk in it. So when you go to the regular grocery store, you don't have to read the labels. You can just buy whatever you want. And everything that's there is going to be okay for you. So that's a game changer. Now, this is the part that's so funny, I think, with regard to karma.
Okay.
You know, I was told in 95 that there was no more karma, and I've been preaching that for a long time. And I know I was the first one to say it. And a lot of times people just shake their heads. And I've had a lot of Buddhists who, you know, that's one of their core teachings. And one of my students right now said to me that when she came across this part of my teaching, she thought it was outrageous. And then she sat with it. And her heart and her consciousness agreed with it. And she said that's what made her want to follow me. Now, what's interesting is why is there no more karma? And it took me a long time to figure this out. So I knew the answer. I knew, you know, the question's answer, but I didn't understand how to explain it. But the easy way to understand it is if we're never doing anything hurtful or harmful, we're not making any karma.
That's true.
So when you claim I have no more karma, you're literally stepping into 5D.
That makes sense. But what about all the other people who are creating the karma around us?
Well, I'm sure you've heard me talk about the three earths, and that there's one earth that's crash and burn of people who refuse to make that choice to
Yeah.
be with God. And then there's going to be a lot of people who just need more time, And that's the do-over earth. And then the ascending earth is what we're on. And that's the earth that is taking off. So the game went well, and permission was granted for a new game to start on a do-over earth where people would get it. And the cool thing is, we humans will be able to interact on both 3D and 5D for many generations, for a couple of generations, to help those that are in the do-over vibe.
To make it up, to change it,
Right.
to change it up.
Mhm.
Okay, there's something in your book. We've only got a 45-minute show, and I could talk to you for a couple hours. So I want to say that you talk about changing the paradigm, and you talk about the dimensions, and we were just talking about that. But what really struck me in this book, you guys, and if you're watching me on YouTube, I'm holding her book up, Living Your Best 5D Life. Okay, this is a real deep subject for me, and I think it will be for the audience. I want to talk about crossing over because I know, and I want to talk about the silver cord, the life review, and I want to talk about going back to source because I don't want to reincarnate. And I know there's a lot, this is a heavy subject, but I'm so grateful, truly, that you put this in your book because I didn't know enough about this and I felt lost. And I'm older and I'm like, well, what if I die and I don't know what to do? So, and I know it's a serious subject and I'm laughing, but I try to make light of it because
Oh, absolutely.
we
And
always,
the interesting thing is the very first aha I had was when a woman was telling me about her death experience, and then how she came back. And she's telling this story, and I'm listening intently. And at one point, I say to myself, "Oh my God, she's dead, and she's negotiating." So
well,
one of the things that happens when you die, um, well, let's start where you want to start. You want to start with the logistics, or you want to
well,
start
no,
with
I
the
just, when you die, okay, we know there's a silver cord. Okay, I just want to understand this, and I want the audience to understand this because this is really life-changing, death-changing information. So we've got the
Mhm.
silver cord, okay, and it's attached. And when we die, you say the silver cord is still attached when we're in life review. Then what happens?
So the physical body is gone because it ceases to exist, even if it ceases to be alive. Okay. The mental body and the emotional body compress into the etheric body. So you no longer have a mental body. That means you don't have mental thoughts the way you and I have mental thoughts. It also means you don't have emotions like you and I have emotions. But the desire body is still hanging on to the stuff we created. So that all compacts into the etheric body. It's at that time that you spend up to 3 days hanging out near the body, and you go through your life review. You have experiences of, what could have been, maybe if you caused serious harm, you might have been able to see the experience from the other person's side, those kinds of things. And then you float up, and you usually are met by family members. If you have no family that has gone before you, you might be met by angels or whatever you believe in. If you believe in Buddha, maybe you'll see Buddha, like that. These are all projections. They're not real.
Who's
And
projecting? Who's projecting them?
that's scary. What was that?
Who's projecting these images? Who's doing the projecting?
There are beings that are holding Earth hostage.
Okay.
And there is a field around the Earth that contains the Earth and all the souls here. So you will reincarnate unless you choose otherwise. And choosing otherwise is developing a connection in a way that allows you to escape that. So should we talk about that
Yeah.
part?
Yeah, I want to
Okay.
know. Right. Let's just play this.
Okay.
out.
So first of all, let me tell you a story about a spiritual teacher who died suddenly.
Okay.
And she wasn't, a lot of times we know what's next. Sometimes we even know that we're going to pass. I've known a lot of spiritual teachers, and I've had interesting experiences when they pass. And sometimes the evidence is there, but it didn't add up to what they thought. Kind of like when I thought the heart was the lowest chakra, I thought the others would atrophy, but that's not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to expand outward. Okay. So the spiritual teacher unexpectedly passes, and she gets caught right away in this reincarnation cycle. Now she knows she doesn't want to come back like you. A lot of spiritual teachers came to be of assistance, but they don't want to keep doing it. They want to put their time in and then go back to source or go back to consciousness, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
And she puts out a cry for help to a lot of people like me who were part of her inner circle, high spiritual teachers. And some of them are able to tap into what's going on. I was not one that tapped in,
This is a
but
friend of mine you're talking about, right? I'm not going to say who it is, but this is a friend of mine you're speaking of?
I think so. I
Okay.
think you know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
no.
just wanted to confirm it. Thank you.
And so she is stuck. She doesn't want to be, on that treadmill, so to speak. And I was part of the inner circle. So when I learned this information, I immediately knew that the only way to pull her out would be to put a tractor beam on her. And I talk about this in the book.
A
So we put a
tractor
tractor
beam.
beam. Mhm.
Okay.
We put a tractor beam on her directly to source. Okay. And we called in Lord Metatron, who stands at the edge of creation, and we asked him to pull her into the light and consciousness. And we succeeded. That is not likely to happen for you and I.
Bummer. Bummer you're not going to be here to do this for me, Maureen.
Yeah.
All right.
We,
So what do we do?
each of us need to learn how to exit the body with a Kundalini activation, going out the crown, and practice going out to consciousness and then coming back until it's time for us to leave.
How do we
So there's a
know?
lot.
Like, I don't under, I hate to sound like a little kid here, but I don't know. Like, you've got this hologram, and I'm gonna say, yeah, okay, whatever, it's a hologram, and I want to go to source. As long as I'm practicing and I know I want to go to source, they can't keep me here. But when I go, you talk about in the book, and I don't want to give your whole book away, but you say there's darkness, and how do you make it through the darkness, I guess, is my question.
Well, the darkness ceases to be scary. You
Okay.
see,
Okay.
initially the darkness is scary because, you've turned your back on your family and friends to stay in this zone of autonomy.
Yeah.
And the family and friends are holograms to encourage you to reincarnate. But once you reincarnate, you end up back in the cycle. So, but if you know the practice of Kundalini, and Joe Dispenza talks about it, and a good friend of mine wrote a book.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you her name and the name of that book because you're probably going to want to interview her.
Okay.
I wrote this book and turned it over to the publisher. And then I ran into her at a trade show, and I bought her book, and I couldn't put it down that night. And her book is called Leaving the Trap. Her name is Isabella Green, and she has mastered this practice.
Okay.
And she says that she used Joe Dispenza's work to get there.
Okay.
I'm in the practice right now.
And her name is Isabella
Isabella
Green.
Green, Greene.
Right.
And her book is called Leaving the Trap. She's also written another book that's related, so you might pick up both of them. And so here I am. I wrote this stuff. I turned it over to the publisher. I reconnect with her. I read her book and I go, oh my God, it's the same thing I put in my book. But she went down the rabbit hole deep. So that would be the benefit. Our will to not reincarnate needs to be super strong. So when we meditate and we make a sincere prayer, I am choosing to move back into consciousness, move back to source. Now, it doesn't mean you won't reincarnate somewhere else. If you want to reincarnate on
Venus.
Jupiter or on Venus or some other place. But there you have control and you're not caught in this web. It's literally like a spider web. You can't get out of it. So it reminds me of a movie, and I can't think of the name of the movie, but this guy was on TV the whole time and he didn't know it. And then he discovered a wall around his home.
Right.
Anyway, somebody knows that movie.
But I need to understand something, and I think the audience wants to know too. There is a source creator, and we're trying to make it back to source creator. So why are these beings why have they been allowed to hold Earth hostage so that we keep reincarnating? Because we had to evolve enough to figure out how to get out?
2 reasons.
Okay.
There was a war in heaven and they won this sector.
Okay.
They have some control over what's going on. That's the first reason. And the second reason is they get something by doing this. They get the benefit of our loosh, our emotions, and that's their agenda. So once we begin to understand that, we are starting to move away from their ability to control us. I can say this to you, it's like being in a bad marriage. You think everything's hunky-dory till you realize you're being controlled.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. But we know, and here's what's confusing to me, I guess, more than anything. I know the angels are here. I know they're with us. I know that we do have free will, but I do have a connection with Source. So it's just, I guess what I feel is that, and this is just my own feeling intuitively, is that it's up to each one of us, each and every one of us, to get to the point where we want to escape this and we learn how to do it. That's what I feel.
Exactly. Otherwise, you're going to come back. So,
Crazy. That's crazy.
like I said, I wrote about it and then discovered that Isabella had written even more than I had. That's why I'm recommending her book, because I've scratched the surface and I've explained to people that we need to leave so that we can be part of the solution in a new way. And right now we're part of the solution. And there's a lot of people who are here as emissaries of love and light, yourself included.
Right.
They don't need to reincarnate for ascension. They're interested in ascension because once they know and understand it and feel it, they can hold that for everyone else. But they're not stuck here because they need to have this experience. They're stuck here because they can't get out. And being stuck here doesn't mean you're not going to be a good person or do good work. It means that when you're ready to leave, you need to be able to leave. And that's the short version.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, I've thought for a long time, this is it. I'm not doing this again. I'm going to Source. I've been wanting to go back to Source for a while. I know that sounds like a cop out, but I know I have work to do. But do you ever feel like that, Marie?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think what the record keeper said when I've had clients that have said this, of course, and the record keepers say, if you get to the point where you absolutely, you just can't stand anymore, you want to leave, that means you're not doing your job. Because doing your job makes you happy. Doing what you came here to do fulfills you enough to compensate for that fact that you miss being with Source and you're blown away by the craziness that's here. So there's these negative sides.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
doing work and helping people gives you enthusiasm to stay and continue.
I agree with that. I mean, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my whole life. And so I have to say, and it's because of my connection with Source. And so, but I'm grateful. But here's the thing, it's a little confusing. I will say this because I was telling you before the show, and I just want to understand this a little bit more. And I know you don't have all the answers, but you got a lot of them, Maureen. But I'm really happy. I've just moved and I know God, Source, whatever you want to say, um, is with me because he keeps putting me, or Source keeps putting me in these wonderful places and making sure I'm happy and making sure I'm comfortable. And so even though these entities are holding Earth hostage, Source is still working with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It
that's
just
kind
means,
of weird. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. You're in a closed system. That's the version you want to think about. I'm in a closed version, closed system. So, what I can say is if you've already determined that you're done on Earth and you really don't want to come back, you don't want to come back as your granddaughter, you don't want to come back as your great-granddaughter, then you tell yourself every day, I'm not going to reincarnate. I'm going to Source. And I say this with deep respect that even though you'll do all that work, if you don't learn how to manage the energy of your consciousness by deep meditation, you'll still end up coming back because you won't be able to resist the encouragement that comes with this system. And that is they're encouraged to come back.
Crazy. I think it's kind of crazy. All right, I'm going to move on to another subject.
Okay. Okay.
And I move on to this because this is something that you taught me, and I want to know a little bit about it. And it's about the dragons. Because you do a meditation where you call in the dragons. And I remember you telling me to call in the dragons at one point when I was afraid. Because I was afraid, you guys, I'm afraid of heights. I must have died in a former lifetime. I must have fallen. And I had to drive, and Maureen told me to have the dragons drive me. Now, don't take this personal, because I know you're really into the dragons. But in the Bible, it talks about Archangel Michael fighting the dragon. So explain to me, I'm confused on the dragons. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they protectors of the earth? Have they just gotten a bad rap? I mean, what's the deal here, Maureen?
I
On the
think it's
dragon.
a interpretation. I
It's
think that when we dive deep enough, we're going to find that serpent and dragons were put together as if they were the same. So the dragons have always been helpful intermediaries,
okay.
and the Old Testament, or wherever you read it, they use the word dragon because the dragons are also about clarity. And clarity means that you can't be lied to. You have the ability to see the truth. You have
Okay.
clarity.
Okay.
So if you have lots of dragons around you, you're going to tell when someone's lying to you.
Right.
And we know that the church, in their infinite wisdom, partnered with, I'll call it the political scene, in a way that caused them to start lying about what was so. And historically, we know the church told lies.
Right.
Okay. We know, for example, the church told a lie about Mary Magdalene. The church knew the truth, but they deliberately lied about her because that the worship of the goddess, the belief in the goddess, was getting out of hand. So if they're starting to say certain things to keep you in line, and the dragons would be able to show you that that wasn't so, you would use
Fear
your
that.
own. Mhm.
I see.
There's also a thing about St. George killing a dragon. And if you go back far enough in the literature, you will find that it was a serpent, a demon, not a dragon. But over the centuries, they've changed the word because it's similar. And then that meaning changes and it accomplishes what they wanted, to get rid of the dragons. Now, here's my tip off. In New York City, in the Met, the Northern Met Museum, which is up in northern Manhattan, there is a castle that was rebuilt, and it was essentially the assembly of a couple of different castles that they put together in a beautiful facility. It's called the Cloisters. In the Cloisters Museum, there is a beautiful tapestry of a dragon.
Okay.
And every time I say something like this, somebody figures it out and changes it. So I don't know how long this will stay there, but the sign says that it was relocated from a monastery in Europe.
Okay.
So why would a bunch of priests or monks have a dragon tapestry unless they were revered? Because they were. And then what the dragons told me is that there came a time that they were being persecuted so heavily that their, I'll call it, license to be here in the physical was revoked for their own safety. Kind of like the thing with the chakras. For your own safety, we're doing this. And back in 2012, they came back in full force and conveyed to me that they were back and that the dispensation was granted again for them being here for us to experience them. So yeah.
I'm excited to hear that. Thank you. Thank you very much. You've explained so much. You also talk, there's so much in this book, you guys, living your best 5D life. I'm just so grateful that you came on the show today. I wanted to, I don't know how much time we still have, but I want to mention that she does talk about the Lords of Time. And I think that's really interesting. We might want to end with that. I ask the angels all the time. I say, hey, I need a little more time to get ready, and they give it to me. All you have to do is ask. I just want people to know that. There's so much in this book. What do you want to talk about? You also talk about the 8D Merkaba in this book, which is kind of a
I
big
think
deal.
that's a whole nother show. The 18 Merkaba is a whole nother.
Whole other show. What do
But
you
I will, I'll say one little thing about the 8D Merkaba, and that is
Okay.
there are instructions in the back of the book, Appendix 1, that tell you how to make one of these, or one of the big ones, like on my bookcase.
And behind you. Okay.
So that this is important to make this as a construction project, because it'll anchor the energy into your field, and then it makes it easy to manifest it. Now, with regard to time, I'd love being able to end with this. Science is telling us that time is one of the dimensions, and it's simply not true. Time
Right.
is a construct that we have agreed to. And because it's a construct, it's malleable, and we can stretch it, we can bend it, we can
We can
compress
extend it. Yeah. If we need more time, we just ask, right? I love this.
You know, and for everyday people to say, well, how can that possibly be? Look at the stories we know about people who've been in a car accident, where they say that everything just happened in slow motion and they could see everything that was happening. Or sometimes when you're trying to get something done, it seems like there's not enough time and it feels compressed. So we have lots of experiences where we experience time not as a regular rhythmic thing. And that's when we begin to understand that we can control time. So when you tell the angels, I want more time, they're going, okay, we're with you. Let's do that.
Mhm. And now you have to, it's really amazing. I bet you do it too.
Yes, I have a little phrase that it says, I have plenty of time to do everything that's important to me. Because I always want to do one other thing. You know, I'm very ambitious, and there's always one more thing to do, whether it's to read a book or to clean the kitchen, whatever it is. There's always something more I'd like to do. And I have learned to pace myself, so I have plenty of energy for what's really important. But I love being able to say I have plenty of time for the things that are important to me. And that allows everything to fall into place. Oh, go do this now. This will fit in, and that's very nice. It's very helpful.
I like it. Maureen, how do people get in touch with you?
They can find me at info at St. Germain Mystery School. Website is called stgermainmysteryschool.com. We have the app, which we talked about earlier, called Illuminate. All my books are available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon, Inner Traditions, and my website.
What's your website?
stgermainmysteryschool.com.
All right, cool. All right. Maureen, thank you. God bless you for doing this and for all the work that you do. So much appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And it's so good to see you and
Good
to
to
be
see
with
you
you.
too. Good to see you too. All right, you guys, it's been a great show. I hope everybody has a fabulous weekend. Check out my new website, psychicforhumanity.com, and pick up my new angel book. Everybody have a fabulous weekend, and God bless.